Welcome to another SuperCoach Hub NBL podcast. I'll be your host today, Verns, and joining me is Chad, Fantasy Phoenix. How you doing, mate?
Going pretty well, thanks, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. And look, a special guest, former AFL winner, soon to be NBL winner, JP. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. What about you, boys?
Oh, we're going as well, but not as well as you at the moment, mate. Where are we sitting at the moment? 10th? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I'm about 50 points back.
Oh, that's a good spot.
Planned a couple of bad weeks, so I'm good now for about a month. So we can only hope.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, let's go through our rounds because I don't think we've jumped on in the last week. I'll just start us off. I had an okay round, 338 points. Gained about 300 positions because I'm sitting just inside the top 2K. Been a slow year for me, but we're heading in the right direction, so let's just keep it on going. Chad, yourself?
Yeah, I was 10 points back from you on 328. I boosted for Prather, but didn't know that he was going to be that laid out, obviously. So the start sits didn't go too well. But yeah, similar thing. This year's not going so well. I think I'm just inside the top 1,500 and made up a couple hundred spots. So not as good as our man here.
334 for myself. Bit lean, but I'm still in striking distance, so pretty happy.
Yeah, very nice. It was a pretty interesting week. Doolittle obviously injured, Prather laid out, as you mentioned there. Pretty wild overall. For the people that went on Bryce Cotton, honestly, huge congrats there to those. Pretty risky. Yeah, that was big reward, high risk, high reward sort of action there. Because if you brought him in, you definitely captained him. Obviously, his break even was through the roof. I do remember Pleb putting out that if he was going to play, he's 100%, which put doubt in our mind that he was going to actually play, but obviously he did. So,
yeah. Oh, sorry. I was going to say it's probably good for us non-owners that he didn't repeat game 1 in game 2, because otherwise it could have been a real problem trying to bring him in.
Would have been
no. That was actually insane. What was he, 0 from 9 to start that game or something? He was not shooting the ball well at all.
I think Bateman stole all his shot making skills in that one.
Oh, he was good.
Dude, he was awesome. That was so fun to watch. That's the good thing. It was entertaining to say the least. But you guys, we had a week off. What did you do over the week off? Tell me about it, fellas.
I told the boys and my team to just take it easy for the week, not train too hard, and just back it up for this week. So we'll see how we go.
Chad?
Yeah, it was good to have a little bit of a week off. Obviously, we've got a bit of a condensed schedule. We were chatting pre-pod. Obviously, we've got, if for cricket fans and BBL fans, we've got that's all starting up. We've got the first test of the summers here, so we've been watching a bit of that, bit of personal birthdays and all that sort of stuff with the family. So that's always good. But yeah, looking forward to jump into the second half of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. It's only the halfway point. It might feel like you're far back at the moment, but there's still plenty of ground to make up. Don't get me wrong. I don't think I'm winning or anything, but I'm hoping to get maybe top 500 or something by the end. Yeah. Did you guys end up?
Yeah, it's fairly condensed up the top, really.
Yeah. One good week from you guys, and you're just going to go boom. Did you guys end up watching any of the Boomers games or no?
Yeah, I watched the highlights of the Thailand game, and that when I saw they were up 20-18 or something, I thought, oh, okay, this is very surprising. And yeah, 100 odd to 48 was an interesting result. The Korea game was really good, but I think the main talking piece out of all of that for SuperCoach wise, there's a bit of an issue with Bannon, who hopefully is going to play. I think Mick said that he's probable or hopeful for this weekend. But yeah, CG picked up right where he left off against Perth and just went bang, bang over there.
Yeah,
dude, he might be in considerations in a couple of weeks on the doubles.
Yeah, that's the high risk with CG, though. When he doesn't fire, God, he doesn't do much else. But when he's hitting shots, he's very entertaining.
He's a 15 or 40.
100%. I actually really enjoyed seeing them play Korea. Just seeing Hung Jung Lee on the other side. All those Illawarra boys in one game playing against each other. And honestly, Hung Jung was really good for them as well. I feel like he was one of Korea's best players. I was like, damn.
He's pretty underrated, I reckon.
Yeah, he's Oh, it's hard to say my favorite player. He's at least my equal favorite player. But yeah, he's the jersey that I'll be getting this year. Loving what he's been doing. He's just worked so hard too. We love someone that works hard for us.
Yeah, no, work rate is massive. And I think something that we saw in these like Korean games, obviously Boomer versus in Korea, he had to do more than just score the ball. Like he was very active on the rebounds. He was driving, facilitating, getting assists, had a couple of steals. Like he was so active. It's like, damn, this guy, if he actually got a bit more court time, or maybe even in a team that's not as strong as Illawarra, where you had to pick up more of the workload, like he could generally be a baller, like a super coach pick for us or whatnot. But look, let's jump into a bit of a preview going into this week. So we will just jump into the trades that are coming. So look, everyone, we've had 2 weeks to sort of think up what we want to do, make those decisions on what we want to bring in. We're going to go the top 5%. I know we're going away from top 10%. I'm not even in top 10%, so I feel even worse when we go lower. But we will look at the most traded in players. And number one, I think it's look, why am I starting at number one? Let's start at number 5 and build it on up. Number one's very obvious, but number 5, interesting enough, is Sam Froling. 5% of the top 5% have brought in Sam Froling. Super interesting there. JP, since you raised your hand, you're doing it. Tell us about it.
I don't think I'll do it in the end, but I've definitely toyed with it just for a 1 in, 1 out week.
Yep.
I just want cover for Harrison for the week. So it's either Pinder or him.
Yeah, no, fair point. Much safer floor. Chad, how do you feel about it?
I like it. The Hawks obviously have as of round 13, the second best schedule, I think, but they've got the third best to finish out the year. You can play him this week if you've got cover the next couple, and then they go in a nice chunk of 5 doubles in a row. It's not bad. He's been up and down stats wise, but very consistent at the same time, if that makes sense. Obviously seen him a lot closely being the Hawks man, but I think that he can unlock a little bit more, but be a solid contributor for SuperCoach teams.
It would be straight into Jack White the following week as well. So it just sort of works price-wise.
Yeah,
that's fair. From all reports that Jack White's pushing to be fit for this week, so hopefully he can. That could work out very nicely, that move.
Yeah, get his break even down a little bit because it's going to be massive, and then be ready to go for his doubles. But you're right, yeah, Froling definitely up and down. His floor's being pretty high. I think his lowest is a 23 looking at this. His highest being a 35, 37. So, that's quite a good sort of floor, decent enough ceiling. I guess the only problem is that he does seem to... I say a problem, but it's not really a problem. He's had a few of these low 20 games. That's the only problem. But like you compare that to some of the other premiums who have come up with sub 20 games, it's really not the worst case scenario.
He looks a bit laconic at times, I find, like Harrison. Just, seem to be going at 3/4 pace.
Yeah. And with how well Hawks have been going, like why not? Number 4, most traded in player. This one I'm also not surprised about. Someone I'm very interested in myself. Dylan Windler. Traded them by 6.5% of the top 5%. Chad, we'll start you off for this time. How are you feeling about Windler?
I can see the like for it, but the inconsistencies with him has been part of the issue. I don't know. Do we think he's going to be better with Cotton back fit and firing, or now that there's another key piece in that rotation, will that limit him a little bit? Obviously, if you're considering Verns, what are your thoughts there?
Oh man, that's a great question there. In reality, I feel like he's finally hitting his straps. I feel like we see this sometimes with these, foreign players when they come on in. They can be a bit slow out of the gates. He's also had injuries throughout the start as well. He came in injured for a couple of weeks, then he played a few games and he was injured again. Then he just hasn't really had that proper run at it as of yet. And we saw sort of in these back-to-back games in week 9 where he went really, really well. His 3-point shooting looks like it's coming online. We know he can rebound already. It's just, as you said, there's a lot of chefs in that kitchen with, Doolittle, Pinder, Bryce is now back. Henschel's been playing amazing. There's a lot of points to be going around. Yeah.
I find when he's missing a lot of shots in a row, though, which is problematic. I got him in 2 weeks ago instead of Sobey, and I'm like, oh, this could burn me, but he was good last week.
Yeah, I'd say a win. I mean, made a little bit of money. You still got him for another 2 doubles. I'd feel pretty happy owning him.
Yeah.
Well, we will move on to the next one. I'm not surprised about this one either. Honestly, I mean, these just all sort of make sense. It is James Bateman. He's come out with a massive game, 67 points. Got traded in by 7.3% of the top 5%. He was straight up incredible. Obviously, is he going to repeat that? Probably not. But he has a -10 break even. You bring him in now, he gets even 20 points, he's going up 30K. 30 points, he's going up 40K. It's really more of getting ahead of the cash, because if you buy him now, you're going to hold him for the next 10 weeks. Yep, and he can just chill on your bench and even on field in some weeks. So makes a lot of sense. I'm personally just finding it a bit hard to do myself.
Do you think his big game is going to affect Cook going forward?
Maybe positively, because Bateman, obviously, similar to Windler, has struggled a little bit early on. But if he can put up obviously shown that he can go really, really big, does that then take a little bit more attention away from Cook? And we see some of the games we saw from him in the first couple where he was just knocking down shots everywhere, having some pretty decent scores. It could be a positive effect on him.
Yeah, I also think on top of it, Cook facilitates. He gives the ball to Bateman, and if Bateman can hit some shots, then boom, that's more points for Cook. I also felt like, that would be awesome. I do feel like he was very hard. Like, he was guarded very heavily in this Perth game, like Cook was. Cook was getting, I forgot who it was on him, but he was not getting space to work with at all, which was kind of funny because Bateman, starts going off and they didn't switch it. Like, even as the game was going later and later, Cook still had someone wearing him like a glove all game long. They were so scared of him getting off that Bateman did what he wanted. So I do think, positive. Hopefully Bateman gets a bit of attention, meaning Cooks can be a bit freer. And then, if he can hit some shots when Cook passes in the ball, awesome.
Take it.
Awesome. Now this is a big play for the week because it's kind of a 1-week play. Xavier Cooks coming in as the second most traded in, 27.2% of the top 10%. JP, start us off. What do you think?
I like him. He went massive against Cairns last game. Not so much his second opponent, but he's got that ceiling. Just doesn't play huge minutes. So I'm definitely considering it. And then you could always move him to Jack White the following week. So I'm very open to it. Just depends if I want to get Cotton or someone else in.
Yep. Chad?
Yeah, I like it, especially if you're in a position where you don't really have a standout captain. You've got, say, a Doolittle who should be okay to play, but is he a bit of over a cloud for some reason? You don't have PJC or something. You need a big captain option. He's probably going to be one of the best scorers this week. The Kings surely over this FIBA break would have had a big kumbaya session being like, we're well and truly underperforming here. And someone like him is going to be a real prideful piece in trying to turn their year in a bit more of a positive direction. I think if you're going for a 1-week play, there's probably no better than Xavier Cooks.
Yeah, I do think it comes with some serious risks, though. I understand he's kind of cheap comparative to what he started. Well, not even what he started at, but what he got to at some point in the year. He's only 375K. Look, Melbourne, they're pretty good inside defensively. Lee's always been known as a defensive big. Low, I mean, outside of his 3-point shooting the other week, is usually a defensive big as well. And last time he played them, he had quite a poor game. Now, I understand last time he played Cairns, 49? But that was before Grove. That was when Groves got injured. So they didn't have Groves that week. It was their first week without their big man on top of it. So, a few weeks later, they were better because I think they learned how to adjust and play without, that reliable big. But that was the very first week after Groves got injured. And I do think that, he tore up a Cairns team that didn't have their big man and didn't know what they were doing. Like, they weren't very good. I think it might be a little bit different this time. Groves will be back. I do expect them to still probably beat Cairns, but I also just don't trust Gorge. Like, god damn, he's been I don't know what he's going to do. Like, I know Cooks we felt like was pretty safe, but there was this other week where Oliver got the most court time, 30 minutes. I don't know.
And then didn't play the next game, played 8 minutes. Yep.
Yeah, Gorge is the new Ford apparently. So
Bevo.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
100% of Bevo. I actually think he's worse than Ford because I feel he's more unpredictable. Because I think the difference with Ford is it's like if someone came out and had a good game, you knew Ford was going to give him a go next game. And then if they didn't play well, then they wouldn't get the follow-up game. With Gorge, you just don't know. Like, they can come out and have a good game, and then they're gone the next week, and you're like, what did they do? I don't understand. Like, it's hard. It's so hard. So I do think there's risk there. He's got a 67 break even. So, I mean, if he was to turn around and put out 40. Like 50 to 60, 40 is pretty low, and he's been pretty consistent. So I think he's just a bit safer than that. But yeah, 50, you could still lose 20K on this. And then how does that affect you? 20K means that you end up missing out on Jack White or something if that's the play the following week. So I think you definitely need to take that into account, that what's the worst case scenario with this. But we will move on to, I think, the most obvious trade-in of the week. I think there's only one exception. No, probably two exceptions to this guy. But I don't know if I could ever do it. It is Bryce Colton. 57.6% have traded him in. Chad, start us off.
We shouldn't say no-brainer, especially in SuperCoach. For those, obviously, that played last year, we had a no-brainer trade, speaking of Ford earlier, that turned into a disaster. But this is one of the greatest players this league's ever seen, not just in terms of play, but if you look at historic SuperCoach numbers, he's surely never going to be cheaper than what he is around this point. He's coming up against a team that he just had a shocking match against that he'll want to repay that with an extra little week of rest and massage. I think it's a very easy one, especially for those that hopefully have a little bit of cash from their trades last week.
Yep. JP?
I think it's probably the right move, but I'm considering Jalen Adams and swaying the wrong way.
Yep.
Fraught with danger, but he's in very good form. Whenever he plays over 30 minutes, he gets 40 points.
He's been
just a one-way kit.
Yeah, that was honestly the one exception to the rule I was talking about. But then I did technically realize PJC is also on the double. So if you don't have him, I guess maybe a second exception to this. Yeah. Bryce, as you said, it makes money. It's a good schedule. It's going to score a lot of points. The thing is, Adams actually meets that criteria as well. He's super cheap. He's going to make money. He's probably going to score really good points, and they're both captain options. So you could take a bit of a risk with the Jalen Adams. I've definitely considered that myself, JP. And then I was thinking, you take the risk with Jalen Adams, then you'd switch to a KD. Unfortunately, KD is now going to be suspended for that double next week, so doesn't quite matter.
I think it's a bit of a blessing, really.
Yeah,
gives us a bit of time to save more cash.
Yeah, and look, he has that 4 break even as well. So yeah, as you said, he could end up like 470K when we wanted him. So hopefully slows him down. But no, I think Adams versus Cotton is a great one. 14K the difference. It could be a real difference maker. I mean, we just saw Cotton come out with a poor game, and this year he's had 3 games already in the 20s. What happens if he comes out with 2 back-to-back 20s? He puts out a 50-something, and Adams, who we've seen have multiple 50s this year, comes together and puts out 100 points. All of a sudden that could be the difference maker. The only thing here with Bryce, though, is that you do get 2 doubles in a row. So, you can trade him in and not worry about him next week. Where Adams, you kind of have to move him straight after you use him.
Yeah, I think if they also have the same break even too, which is another thing if you were looking at who's got the better one. But if someone was going for, say, that Bateman option as a cheap trade-in, you could pair it with an Adams, and then that way you have that flexibility. Maybe you've got a PJC, you can just switch Adams and Bateman for a couple of weeks. But yeah, after seeing Adams live again, he just does it all, doesn't he? If his shot's not dropping, he's facilitating. If he's making his shot, he's just doing it. Yeah, he's doing it all. So
hustling, everything. Yep.
Oh, a former MVP for a reason. And he's definitely getting back to that form. So that's an interesting point that you're bringing up there. And JP, I think it's not a bad shout.
Yep. I know me as a Robertson owner, it's been very unfortunate the last few weeks. But like I think because I'm a Robertson owner, it's more noticeable now more than anything that Adams is just getting so much court time. Like we're not seeing the bench point guard. They're not coming on. They don't need them. Adams is playing the full game. And earlier in the season, it sucked that he had his back pain, and we know that back pain can flare up whenever. So once again, added risk there. But if it doesn't, his form when he's actually being fit is almost like a 40 floor. That's kind of what it feels like. He has been so good. So look, it's something that I'm so tempted on myself as well. But then I have to, as I said, worry about trading him next week. And that can maybe get a bit more difficult, unfortunately.
I'm primed with doubles, so it's something that I could probably get away with. I think I've got 8 before trades this week and be 9 next week. So
yeah, and you probably got a ton more cash than me as well. I just, God, I wish I had more money. Am I allowed to ask how much your team is currently valued at, JP?
Just under 2.8.
Oof, just under 2.8. I swear mine's like 2.6 at most. Like it's not good.
The guy winning's 3.
That's insane. I mean, that's the difference right there. I mean, someone brings in Adams and I've got to field Webster. I don't know, something like that. Like it's awful. So we will jump into the most traded out. One of these I'm a bit surprised of, and I think people are probably just a bit upsetty. We're going to go for honorable mention. The 6th most traded out player, 7.9%, is actually Tyrell Harrison. Guys, let's be honest. It sucked. It
was horrible. My captain.
Oh, really? I feel bad too, because honestly, if you look at his form, he's been in such outside of the 13, he was in such good form. Randomly pulled up an 18, and you think, oh, it's a one-off, and then back-to-back 21s. Saying that, like his 21 against Perth, he was almost fouled for he was like in foul trouble. Yeah, he didn't play much of that game at all, and he still got to 21, which really shows what he could do in that game.
He can rack it up quick.
Yeah. But yeah, anyone else want to talk about Harrison for a bit?
Well, as you know, you and I, we were part of the round 1 going the punt and captaining him. So I actually didn't go for him just out of. I don't often do this with any fantasy sports, but I was like, no, you screwed me over. I'm going to at least hold off a week until the next portion. So yeah, I didn't go him last week. I went Bannon instead. But yeah, it's definitely disappointing. We've seen how big he can go. It could be a bit of frustration that maybe people did some rage trades and haven't reversed them yet.
Look, I hope that's the case because let's be honest, you brought him in because he's got 9 doubles in a row after this. Like, you're not trading him out this week to trade him back in next week. Let's be honest, you're not doing that. Maybe you are if you don't have the cover in the center position. I'm pretty sure his break even is 37. He can honestly get that break even on a single. Like, aren't you going to be feeling silly when you trade him out and he comes out with a 44, makes 7K, and could have been a good guy on the bench? Like, that would feel bad. It's pretty good for us non-owners though. Like, he lost 25K. His break even's pretty high. We could get him in nice and cheap next week, which is something I'm looking forward to.
The redemption arc.
Yep.
Please. So the actual 5th most traded out player, it is going to be Matt Hurt. So these are clearly people that had held on to him for that extra week. Honestly, if you did hold him onto him for the extra week, congrats, because 44 on the single, he was really good, and definitely made me very annoyed that I traded him.
He looked pretty cooked after the double.
Yeah.
Banged up with that leg and whatever was going on.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was even going to be playing if they're talking about, potential pulls and strains. So good on him for fighting through.
Yeah, I mean, look, his shooting was woeful. As you said, he was banged and bruised. Like, there was a lot of things going wrong for him in that double. And then the next week he just rolls on out of bed and he's just like, nah, not today. But yeah, he was awesome. 44 points. Honestly, 30% of the top 5% held him. Like, damn, that's a significant portion of coaches that probably just got an advantage on most of us that traded. Yeah. So that's awesome for them. His break even is actually 28, but he has a big run of singles right now, so understandable when moving him on. Yeah, got plenty of money there to facilitate. So we will move on to the 5th most traded out. This one is also a consideration of mine. It is Kareem Lopez. 10% of the top 5% have traded them out. JP, start us off.
He looks great, but how long can a 17-year-old sustain it, you know? Has he run his race? He's got a break even of 58 or 8-ish, I think. He's pretty maxed in price, I think. He could go bang again, but I'm inclined to trade while you've got the value there.
Yeah, it's a fair call. I mean, there's another issue for the breakers. I mean, obviously there was a bit of a change in that import structure, but a couple players that have been out that have really helped him perform well over the last 3-4 games are both looking likely to play this week. So Darling and King looks like they're probable and likely to play. So how's that going to affect him? Sure, he'll probably still start, but is he going to then have a bit of a perhaps shorter leash and not get as many minutes? Who knows?
Yeah. And look, he has really grown in cash, 270K off 115K starter. For those that brought him in at 140, like, congrats there. You made tons of money. I unfortunately only brought him in at 200K. Still made 70K, which is a lot better than a lot of the other rookies, let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, his back-to-back games, he got 14, 16. If he comes out for 30 on the double, he's going to lose 30K, and you kind of, you lose half the dividends you just made. So it makes sense to trade him now. Yeah, definitely. But he does have 4 doubles in a row. So
how's a bit of a restructure at New Zealand going to treat them, you think, with Gillespie out? And when's Taco?
It seems as though Bolden still got a week or 2 on the sidelines as well. So it's going to be heavily reliant on Menenga, who apparently is okay after his knock. And Dane Pinot is probably going to get some run. But even when they were short, Pinot didn't get heap of minutes, so they might be playing a little bit of that smaller ball, which I guess would help Lopez. But yeah, the rotation is going to be interesting, especially as JP just pointed out there, with Taco eventually coming in, that could really shake some things up. So yeah, I think Verns, you might be onto something, mate. Even with the doubles, just take the cash and run.
Yeah, and look, this is what happened last year to a lot of people. We had Robertson come in, make 70K in like a week instantly, but he got a very poor score while doing it. And I personally jumped off him. The next week he got like a -4 and basically lost like 20K and just like absolutely ruined people. So this could be the exact same situation. We've made the money. He's got a high break even. Just cash him out and take advantage of it. Saying that, he could ride the bench for 4 weeks, and is he going to be that bad? There's so many moving pieces in New Zealand. It's hard. It's very, very hard to tell what's going to happen here. I think Menenga could do really well over the next 4 weeks, or at least the next couple, with Bolden out, Fall not back. Darling is meant to return. So hopefully he probably gets some minutes. He has a nice low break even. I know myself, I was also looking at like Bairstow, but then like how does King affect that? I do wonder, because he's been kind of coming in as a backup point for PJC, but he's also been sliding to the 2. So I do wonder if Bairstow is going to get those minutes. You probably run with his cash as well. Maybe. He's got a pretty low break even. You probably hold him for at least 1 week, check out how he plays. Yeah, it's very hard to tell with New Zealand right now. Probably give them a week, see how they go in the double, and you still got 3 doubles after that to worry about trading them in.
Yep.
So next one, Elijah Pepper, 166K, just lost 30K for owners, so 17.4% of the top 5% have traded him out. He was previously 40% owned in the top 5%. So they just had a huge cash loss, which, as we mentioned before, something I really need the top few to be doing. Chad, start us off.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for owners. I mean, you have to jump now with Cotton coming back in there. Well, I think they are at full strength if everything's okay with Doolittle. So he's still going to get burned. He'll have some games, like he did. Was it against the Kings when Cotton was still playing, where he went off for like 27. Yeah. So he'll still bob up here and there, but you don't want to lose any more money on him. He's definitely not going to be as consistent as he was without Cotton. So yeah, it's pretty simple one to move out.
Yeah, easy.
JP, I never really liked him. Just don't like the look of him, to be honest.
Too bulky for you?
Pretty happy death riding him.
Yeah. I mean, look, I do agree. I like Henschel on the court a lot more. I feel like Henschel sort of does what Pepper does, but he's taller. He gets rebounds. I think he's better defensively. I do think he also facilitates the ball. So I feel like Henschel sort of just does what Pepper does, but better. I guess because we've even seen both of them pop off. We've seen games where, Pepper's popped off and hit a bunch of shots and looked great, but Henschel's done the same thing. So really, I just think Pepper's unfortunately that half a step behind Henschel personally. Obviously a massive break even, just like a very obvious trade out. Yes, I know they've got 2 doubles, but I don't know. I would be surprised if he got to 20 on the double. So I think you just move him, bank the cash.
Bit of a poor man's Golding for me. Sort of does, the flashy stuff at times, but just goes walkabouts.
Yep.
Yeah, so, it's not a bad call.
Look, we will jump to this is crazy. I think this is for people that are looking at maybe a pod angle to try and maybe catch up to the top of the pack. So 19.5% of the top 5% have traded out Christian Doolittle. Now, this man is still currently owned by 73% of the top 5%. So you're really batting against the pack here. Super interesting. I personally think that's ludicrous. I understand he has a high break even, but he's got 2 doubles in a row. He's had the FIBA break off as well from him getting a little bit injured. So my understanding is he should be back. I just don't think this is the right play. How you guys feeling?
He's too consistent to trade out for me. If you can get 110 out of him over the next 4 games, 2 doubles, that's all you need out of him. He's consistent, classy player. Does a lot of work, rebound, assist, shoot. No brainer to keep him.
Yeah. I think he's a hold. Could be a similar issue if people have made their trades early. Hopefully that's what's happened, and they're thinking, with that injury cloud. But no, from all reports, he's trained and he should be good to go. And yeah, JP summed it up really well. Very consistent, as he was for a lot of last year too. So back-to-back doubles, you can keep riding that train and then shake hands, thank him for his services.
Yeah, no, perfect. I do think, honestly, people probably have made the trade thinking he won't play. That's what I've got to say. And then they also probably like how good their team looks when he's not in it. They probably sit there and like, oh, man.
As well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if I was sitting there and I had Cooks in my team instead of him right now, I'd be like, damn, that's a nice looking team for this week, But you need to think about it. He's probably playing, so you're probably not doing the trade. Let's be honest. So the most traded out player coming into this week is actually Nathan Sobey, traded out by 21.2%. This is similar to Hurt, makes a lot of sense. He's got a bunch of singles coming up and also just had a 19, so kind of hurt you if you held. Yeah, I think is that all the commentary we need? Just time to go. Simple.
Yeah. I second JB's statement.
Look, the only other one I'm going to randomly bring up, just because we were talking about him earlier, obviously Alex Higgins, who was playing under Ford, was doing really well, even starting for games, and then just randomly didn't play this week again. Currently has a -7 break even. So is that awkward ground where it's like, you don't want to trade him out because if he hits the floor, he's going to make money. But you just saw him get a did not play for no reason, literally no reason. I'm just going to ask you, if you were holding Alex Higgins, do you think it's worth trading him or not?
It's
I
the
think it's a
eternal
tough
question,
one.
isn't it? Do you take the money or do you take the score? A DNP hurts a lot in this format.
Yeah, definitely so. It's tough because a lot of people probably thought the exact same thing last week before the DNP. He's got that negative break even. Let's just keep him there. He steps on, he makes me X amount of K, and then all good. But perhaps another spanner in the works is they've got a double next week. So if you hold him and he steps onto the court, does he go up a little bit and then has an opportunity to play again? But yeah, I'm not too sure there.
It's a bit like Flint Cameron a couple of weeks ago, great when he's on court, but if you're not getting on, it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now his points
just
for
a
his
quick.
minutes.
Sorry, no, you go, Verns.
I was just saying his points for his minutes insane.
Oh yeah.
Oh great.
Yeah, he's but there's an asterisk that if they've got a full squad, I think what's the NBL rules? You're only allowed to have one DP on a away trip. At home, you can have I think 2. But if you've got all 11 guys fit, you can only have one DP if you're away. So that's probably why he was getting burned, which was why it was surprising that he had the DNP CD at home. But just a thing to keep in mind. We'll double check where are their games at. Now
this week it's at Cairns against Sydney.
Oh yeah,
the thing is,
Sydney.
If it's a blowout, he probably plays.
Yeah.
So
every chance.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance he steps on the court this week. I think there's a really good chance. So,
especially with Cooks and Oliver coming, they might look to someone else if they're just being dominant. Let's just throw him in there, see how he goes.
Yeah, and look, I guess the question here is it's what else is he doing for you? Because in reality, if he steps on and scores a 4, who cares? Who cares if he scores a 4? Yeah, he had a -7 break even, but he made like 10K. Did that really matter? No, the 4 probably hurt more than getting 11K. So the question is, what else can you do with him? If you hold him for a week, does it facilitate other trades, which is better? Maybe. Like if you can end up getting a Bryce and maybe let's say a Jalen Adams, but if you choose to trade him, then you have to forgo one of them. That's the questions that come into effect and you have to take into account. I think in most situations, you're probably not wrong either way. I think it's fine, but I would float more towards trading him personally.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. So, you move him on and he plays and goes up in cash. You keep him, he has another DNP CD. So,
yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, let's wrap this up by looking at some captains for the week, guys. So we've obviously got New Zealand, we've got Perth, we've got Sydney, and we've got Illawarra on the double. I got to be honest, that's 4 pretty good teams when it comes to captains. Like there is a lot floating around when it comes to options. Let's start with the man himself, JP. Who's your preferred VC and C? Now, obviously, VC in this format doesn't matter, but I guess just backup captain.
I still don't even have my trades worked out yet. I was back and forth for 8 days. Probably PJC, I think. It's PJC, Adams, Cotton, or Cooks for me. Yeah. But I don't know where I'm going to end up. I've only got one of them.
Yep. Chad, yourself?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid 4 there. If we, looking a bit deeper at some of them, so you've got New Zealand who have Perth, which he should go pretty well against, even though it's in Perth with a big trouble. But he's got the Hawks too, which the Hawks hold Cotton pretty well, but PJC's gone off a bit against him, and he'll have that extra ammunition from being knocked out from the postseason last year by them. Off his, he had a shot to win it, so. I think he's probably going to have that extra incentive to go really well. I don't know if I'd look at any of the Hawks pieces. I know a few rounds ago we mentioned Trey Kell. Well, I mentioned Trey Kell as a potential shout, but they're very equal opportunity in a sense that you don't know who's going to go off each game. So it probably comes down to PJC, Cooks, Adams, Cotton. Definitely a shout, but I think I prefer the other 3 if I'm being honest. If I had all 3, I'm quite partial to Cooks, so I'd probably go Cooks and then PJC and then Adams in that order.
Yep. Look, for those that don't know, my risk tolerance is crazy. So I would put my money on Adams. Look, he's burnt me so many times. I've captained him this year, but I would just like to roll the dice one more time. Why not? Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to own him, but I love that idea. I do like Cotton over PJC, though. The only thing that's really coming into my factor here is New Zealand with 2 away games, Perth with 2 home games. I feel like there's not much, you're splitting hairs to a degree. So when we take into account that one factor, I think that's enough for me to be like, okay, I'm going to go Cotton. I do think Cotton's going to want a bounce back game against Brisbane. And New Zealand haven't been the most restrictive team either. So I think 2 good games there. As you mentioned, New Zealand, it's a big travel to get over the Perth, but also 2 away games. Illawarra also a very good team. So yeah, I think I'd prefer Cotton over PJC, but I'd make Adams my preferred captain for the week if I own him. Yep.
Don't do this to me, Verns. Come on.
I'm sorry.
If we had to put a percentage chance looking at your trades, I know we've still got a couple days to go. How likely do you think you'll land on Adams coming in? I could put this question to both of you, actually.
You know, I've really got to crunch some numbers here again, because the thing is, for next week, it doesn't actually matter all that much, because right now it's like, say I brought in Cotton, I'm going to have PJC, Cotton, and Cooks on the double next week. I only really need 2 of those for the on-field options. So if I go for Adams and trade him next week, I still got 2 guys on field, and then I can facilitate Adams' money into maybe a forward instead, which could be maybe a Bannon, it could be maybe a Harrison, and then move Pinder to the forward line. It actually does a bit more for me in that kind of trade aspect. Unfortunately, I think if I do go that sort of route, maybe I end up having to hold Robertson or something. I still got Robertson, and I have to deal with him, and he's 80K, and there's no one to trade him to because they all suck, and it's just so hard. Oh, that a percentage.
What about you, JP?
You know what? I'm going to give it a 50. I'm going to give it a 50-50 right now. I'm going to flip a coin after this and make my choice purely off that.
I'll go the opposite of you, so let me know what you flip. I'll be taking Adams or Cotton. I'm not 100% sure which one.
Yeah.
I've got Mooney and PJC already, so I'm pretty set next week regardless. So, and then Danny's sitting on the bench.
Oh yeah. It's it makes it easier when you know you've got that locked in for the next couple of weeks. So like if we look at the schedule, let's say either of you guys went Adams, with having either PJC and Cook or PJC and Mooney, you've got the cover on Adams singles if you really wanted to hold him until that next double anyway.
Yeah.
So if that helps cloudy it a little bit for you, I'm not too sure, but it's definitely going to be a week of swings. I think people going in a few different directions that could really, really shake things up in the rankings.
I was planning on doing Adams to Davis next week, but Spanner.
Yeah, that's definitely something I brought up in my YouTube video. I thought you either go Bryson hold or you go Adams to Davis. That was the sort of the 2 routes you're looking at. Obviously, you lose Davis here, but as I said, most people, we have that kind of 3rd premium guard already. Look, I'm actually in such a predicament now that I look at my team. It's such a mess. I currently have Lopez on field in my forward position. And after I talk about this, I don't want him on field anymore, but I don't have any other premium forwards. God, am I going to have to boost him out? Oh, man.
Do it.
If it makes you feel any better, I haven't done trades yet, but yeah, before trades, he'd be starting for me too. So,
yeah, I think there's a good chance I might roll the dice and actually go Adams in, captain him, and then go probably just Robertson to Darling myself. It does give me Doolittle, unfortunately, Lopez, Pinder, PJC, and Adams on field. So, and then I got Cook right in the bench. So,
and you got a boost?
I do.
Burn it.
So, gosh, I really should. You know, it's gonna be worse when you burn it and Lopez goes up for 50, like goes for 50, and you're just sitting there like, damn. But yeah, any last words, guys? I mean, I don't know if you guys want to talk about your trades at all. Chad, you got anything locked on in?
Yeah, we might. Well, it's up to JP. We might let him hold cards a little bit closer to the chest. I know there's still a long way to go, but he's in the upper seat, so you might not have to reveal too much, mate. But I'm nowhere near that, so I can.
I've got
with
Lopez will probably go. Sorry.
Yep.
And
No, you're right. Yeah, I'm thinking probably similar. Even with the schedule, especially after what the chats help reinforce it. Take the money and run with him. I've also got Lewis, who I've had as a bit of a cash cow on the bench. So I'll move both of them, swing one of Henschel or Prather to the forward line, and then bring in a gun, probably Sydney King, and Cotton will be the other choice if I can afford to do Cooks and Cotton. Otherwise, it might be I don't know if I'll do Adams and Cotton after. You're making me want to roll the dice, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm still deliberating whether to get rid of Danny Glover as well. He's going to make some more cash, but he's only got a single, so
their schedule's not too great.
Yeah. I mean, look, something I could always take into account is I could always swing a Henschel up with Prather and throw him on field. I liked Henschel in the Boomers games as well. He's actually really developing as a player. He's enjoyable to watch. Yeah. So, I mean, do I feel more comfortable with Henschel versus Lopez? I think Henschel probably a higher floor. Lopez, well, we saw that ceiling. Like, damn.
I feel safer with Henschel, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But do I want to be safe or do I want to? No. Yeah. Anyway, guys. I guess that should be basically us done. I don't think we have any other things we want to cover. Anything else you guys want to discuss today?
I don't think so. I mean, we went over a lot of stuff anyway. We touched on the schedule a bit throughout some of the conversations around players, so I don't think we need to dive too deeply into that. But it's this week, at the end of this week coming, will mark the halfway point of the season. So for us that are sitting a little bit further back, we've still got a long way to go. And for those at the pointy end like JP, you've still got plenty of room to catch up that few points the leader's got on you at the moment.
Yeah, I'm good. I've got it.
Awesome. All right. Well, look, final shout out for everyone. If you're not already in the SuperCoach Hub Discord, please jump into our description down below and come join the Discord. I do usually run the consensus team in there. And now that I've mentioned that, I need to go check in that consensus team and ask about some trades because I haven't done that for the last week. I went on holiday myself, not actually, just mentally with, the break from NBL. But yeah, jump in there, have a chat. Pleb's always active talking in there. Barnesy is as well. The boys are really active all the time, so plenty of advice to go around. So yeah, Chad, where can the listeners find you?
So I try. I'm usually lurking in the Discord, but if you've got questions, you can ping me in there. I also at Fantasy Phoenix _ on Twitter or X, and also doing YouTube stuff as well. The Fantasy Phoenix channel. Hopefully you can find me not taking too big a risks like these gents here, but we'll see how we go.
JP, where can the listeners find you?
I've got quite a few aliases, don't I? Jay Peeterman on Twitter or X, and something different everywhere else.
Yep. Well, you can find me also chilling in the SuperCoach Hub Discord. As I said, I'm always in the consensus team. Please ping me if you're actively involved in the consensus team, because I'll be honest, if I'm not pinged half the time, I'll only remember Thursday night before the game starts, and I'll try to make the quickest trades for that consensus team. But you can also find me at Verns SuperCoach on YouTube or Verns _SC Hub on X. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning into the video, for liking, subscribing, for your consistent injections of SuperCoach content directly into your YouTube feed. Till next time, peace.
Thanks, boys.